Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about Pastor Henderson, about this $4 million that he is still trying to raise after the Hurricane Burrow that hit the city of Houston back in July of 2024. And honey, the social media influencers and celebrities have stepped into the building, and people like Sierra Glam Shop from the reality show Love and Hip Hop ATL has begun speaking out. So we just gonna jump right into it. Now, the Neighborhood Talk posted 2 clips of Jamal Bryant allegedly responding to Pastor Keon's sermon about not helping the poor. And in one of the clips, you see Pastor Jamal Bryant saying, "I gotta clear something up. It's a blessing when you do something for the poor." And the other clip, it was just a repeat of what Pastor Henderson had already said about giving to the poor. Now, I thought by now all of this would have subsided, it would have settled down, but I guess since Pastor Keon is eating off of this viral moment, honey, Jamal Bryant says, "Move over so I can eat too." Well, Sierra Glam Shop responds to the second clip by saying, "OMG, the second slide is just crazy." And in the second slide, that's where we see Pastor Keon speaking about giving to the poor. And so in the comment section, someone wrote to her by saying, "At Sierra Glam Shop, I think y'all are not understanding what he's trying to say. You're supposed to bless others less fortunate without wanting something in return. It's your job in God's eye to help others. God is pleased when you give with a pure heart and good intentions, not when you do it for a reward for yourself." And Sierra says to the commenter, "This is not what Pastor Keon said at all." Someone else wrote, "This is true. You have to hear everything, not just a piece of it. Just like the Bible, you can't read one paragraph without reading all of the paragraphs in the chapter so you can get the full understanding of the word, not part, because this is why people are misled and knows nothing about what the actual word of God says or mean." Some of these quick responses prove they just watched the clip and not listened to the whole sermon. And Sierra responds to that message by saying, "I grew up in the church too." And y'all, that has been people's argument that nobody has listened to the entire sermon. And I'm going to clear that up right now and say that Pastor Keon said enough for people to know what he said isn't right. Just like with the hush moment with the lady in this church, it just wasn't right. Now, when he went on the Jamal Bryant podcast, Jamal Bryant has a podcast here on YouTube, and they had a link up a couple of weeks ago when Pastor Keon was on his podcast promoting his new book entitled Lazy Love. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is that I was trying to figure out, how was Pastor Keon going to get this $4 million? And honey, I'm nobody's God. I didn't ask God for any type of vision or any type of inquiry when it comes to this financial gain. But just looking at the concrete evidence that is sitting right in front of us, I was listening to somebody else's video here on YouTube on yesterday, honey, and just listening to some of the commentary. And he mentioned that Pastor Keon said on one of his morning Sunday services just recently, and this had to be within the last 2 to 3 weeks. So he said recently on one of his Sunday morning services that out of the $4 million that he is requesting to raise, that he has raised a little bit over 100,000. And let me tell you why that amount makes way more sense than him trying to raise $4 million. Now, a lot of these churches are not full, especially after 2020 and the year that all of us had in 2020. They are not full to capacity like these pastors are making it out to be. And so if you look at Pastor Keon's live stream on Sundays, you will see that his church is not filled from the front to the back, to the left or the right, or in between, honey. And one particular service that I caught recently is when he was celebrating his church anniversary. So I think they were celebrating, it was either the 15th or the 16th church anniversary. I want to say it was the 16th church anniversary, but I can't exactly remember. And honey, I didn't look it up. But they had to borrow someone else's church. And looking at the sanctuary in the church that they had borrowed, it still wasn't filled to capacity to me. And even though Pastor Keon claims to be a mega pastor, honey, he does not have necessarily the attendance or the membership of a mega church. And so it's giving like, bro, where are you going to get the money from when you don't have that many members at your church? And we have to use logic and common sense in these situations, honey, because he's trying to pull a wool over our eyes. And when Pastor Keon was on the podcast with Jamal Bryant, he revealed where he was expecting, and I'm giving air quotations, expecting to get the $4 million from. So y'all take a listen to this as I read what he says when he was on Pastor Jamal Bryant's podcast a couple of weeks ago. Now, Pastor Keon Henderson explained that he was going to get $4 million from the people who followed him on his YouTube channel and on his Facebook page. And let's not forget TikTok and Instagram. And I just want y'all to understand that he was not depending on the church or, his church friends to give him that $4 million. Now, it makes more sense why Pastor Keon made a video of himself sitting in the building of his church where the destruction occurred. And this was allegedly, and I have to say allegedly, because somebody else said that the hurricane didn't cause all of that damage. But I digress, y'all. And so all of this damage was allegedly caused by the hurricane, and he was reaching out to his online community. Pastor Keon continues on by saying 70%, y'all listen to this, 70% of his members do not attend Lighthouse Church in Houston in person, but that 70% accounts for the people that attend online. And let me just say, he ain't lying, okay? The numbers are numbering. The data is giving what it's supposed to give. If you look at his YouTube videos, they're getting 30, 40, 50, 60,000 views, and he uploads, a couple of times throughout the week. He may do a re-upload. He may do a podcast here and there. So the numbers are giving. But to count on that 70% of your membership online, y'all, I just don't know what to say about that. Let me say this. We do believe God for a miracle. And I'm not saying that God can't do it, but you got to be reasonable and let God get the credit for a miracle if that's what he wants to do, and not Pastor Keon take up an offering to take credit because he asked for the $4 million. So before I wrap up this video, I don't think that there was a problem with Pastor Keon asking for the donations. But do I think that $4 million is extreme? Absolutely. So y'all, those are my thoughts. I look forward to reading yours in the comment section of this video. As always, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.